Get ready for the action because former UFC fighter Matt Brown has dropped some serious heat on Ronda Rousey. Brown is calling out Rousey directly for her behavior before and after that massive fight against Gina Carano at MVP MMA. Brown isn't holding back, saying Rousey carries herself in a way that is simply unacceptable and pointing out that it was an obvious mismatch that made the entire card cringe. We break down exactly what Brown thinks went wrong and why he believes Rousey needs to seriously rethink her approach. Next, what his final chapter means for the MMA landscape. And finally, get ready for the biggest fight night of the year because the UFC is bringing back Conor McGregor. The former two-division champion is officially booked to headline UFC 329 against Max Holloway. We break down the massive betting odds, with Holloway coming in as the heavy favorite against McGregor, and everything you need to know about this highly anticipated matchup as fight night approaches. Stay locked in, because we have more on McGregor versus Holloway coming up right after this. Former UFC fighter Matt Brown has leveled harsh criticism against Ronda Rousey, labeling her a narcissist following her recent victory over Gina Carano at MVP MMA. Brown expressed significant reservations about Rousey's conduct leading up to the bout, citing a perceived mismatch in the matchup. Speaking on the MMA Fighting podcast, Brown stated that he found no redeeming qualities in the event for making him a bigger fan of Rousey, specifically criticizing her demeanor and speech. Brown suggested Rousey may suffer from mental issues and recommended she seek therapy. He dismissed the victory, arguing that defeating an opponent who hadn't fought in 17 years offered no basis for pride. Brown further characterized the build-up to the fight as cringe, highlighting Rousey's aggressive and frustrated personality. In contrast to the criticism, Rousey announced post-fight plans to relocate to Hawaii with her husband, Travis Brown, and their children. Having collected at least $2.2 million in disclosed pay for the fight, Rousey reportedly has the financial means to purchase property in Hawaii. While Rousey indicated she does not plan to compete again, the article notes that given the shock of her return after a decade-long retirement, fans and critics alike are hopeful that any future bout will feature a more competitive opponent. Former interim UFC welterweight champion Colby Covington has officially announced his retirement from professional MMA. The move was confirmed by ESPN reporter Brett Okamoto, who stated that Covington had informed the company of his decision. This announcement follows the recent update to Covington's UFC.com profile, which was moved to the retired section, officially removing him from the active roster. Covington's career trajectory saw him transition from a standout collegiate wrestler, who secured back-to-back Pac-10 championships in the early 2010s, to the MMA scene. After joining the American Top Team Gym, he made his debut in 2012, quickly gaining traction in the UFC after securing 5 regional wins. His persona, characterized by a brash and insensitive style, notably highlighted by controversial comments, drew significant attention. Covington captured an interim welterweight title in 2018 after defeating Rafael dos Anjos, a victory he dedicated to President Donald Trump, which became a central element of his public image. While he faced several top contenders, including Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards, Covington struggled to secure major title opportunities, losing both unified title shots against Usman and a 5-round bout against Edwards. His final recorded UFC appearance occurred in late 2024, when he lost to Joaquin Buckley via a 3rd-round doctor stoppage due to a cut. Following his retirement from the UFC, Covington has returned to wrestling, competing at real American freestyle events and continuing his involvement in the collegiate circuit, with a scheduled bout against Chris Weidman later this month. Former UFC welterweight champion Colby Covington has officially announced his retirement, concluding what has been a highly polarizing career in the sport. Covington informed the UFC of his decision on Monday, marking the end of his professional journey, which began in 2012. Covington rose to prominence as one of the most bombastic fighters of the last decade. His career highlights include a unanimous decision victory over Rafael dos Anjos in June 2018 to capture the interim welterweight belt. His reign was brief, however, as nasal surgery forced him out of a unification bout with Tyron Woodley later that year. Covington did regain the welterweight title opportunity when he faced Kamaru Usman in December 2019, a competitive fight that ended with a TKO victory for Usman. Covington also experienced a significant rift within his former American top team, engaging in feuds with fighters such as Dustin Poirier, Jorge Masvidal, and Joanna Jedrzejczyk before departing the team in March 2020. The friction with Masvidal escalated when accusations regarding a shared striking coach led to a breakdown in their relationship. In response, Covington adopted an extreme villain persona, which reportedly included racial slurs and mockery directed at Masvidal, his family, and religious beliefs. The two eventually settled their conflict in a 5-round showdown in Las Vegas in March 2022, with Covington securing a decisive victory. Covington sought one final shot at the belt by facing then-champion Leon Edwards in December 2023, but he sustained a unanimous decision loss. The final chapter of Covington's career was marked by a deep cut above his left eye, which ultimately led to a loss against Joaquin Buckley. The UFC is set to feature a highly anticipated return of Conor McGregor, who is booked to headline the UFC 329 event during International Fight Week in Las Vegas against Max Holloway. Holloway, a former UFC featherweight and BMF title holder, has moved up to welterweight for the July 11 event at the T-Mobile Arena. Early betting odds indicate Holloway as the substantial favorite over McGregor, who last competed in July 2021. This marks another instance of UFC CEO Dana White announcing a McGregor return to the cage, following the booking of McGregor versus Michael Chandler for UFC 303 in April 2024. While UFC 303 saw McGregor withdraw due to a broken toe, the organization has demonstrated a willingness to stage high-profile bouts. The UFC has also been focusing on high-gate events, with UFC 306 becoming the first card to surpass the $20 million live gate mark, drawing $21.8 million. Conor McGregor, 37 years old with a record of 22 wins and 6 losses, is currently 1-3 since October 2018. His recent fight history includes 2 consecutive TKO losses to Dustin Poirier, and his most recent bout in July 2021 ended with a loss to Poirier after suffering a broken leg. Max Holloway enters the matchup with a 5-3 record against McGregor's previous outings. Holloway has fought 8 times since McGregor's last UFC appearance, securing wins against notable names including Yair Rodriguez, Arnold Allen, Korean Zombie, and Dustin Poirier, including a BMF title defense. The rivalry between the two has deep roots, dating back to an August 2013 fight at 145 pounds, where McGregor secured a decision victory. When the rematch betting odds were released, Holloway was heavily favored at -550 against McGregor at +420. Current odds show Holloway holding a strong position at -400, with McGregor listed as the underdog. Ticket prices for UFC 329 have not yet been announced, as the card anchors the International Fight Week in Las Vegas. More details are expected as the fight night approaches.